Aloha and welcome to Outside Hawaii. I'm Jen Boniza. On today's show, we're proud to present a video that represents a different model and hopefully a new standard for the Division of Conservation and Resource Enforcement. Better known as DoCare, this division is the enforcement arm for the Department of Land and Natural Resources. Their incredible mandate includes nearly all of Hawaii's Mauka to Makai areas. And DoCare's community-based vision is essentially about our kuleana to the land and the sea.
I grew up in Waimanalo on Hawaiian homestead lands. My father was a fishing game warden. Back then, that's what they were called. And during his initial employment, that's what they did, was just fishing and hunting. And to describe what Hawaii was like back then, I spent a lot of time with him on patrols. He took me with him, and Hawaii was very different then. There were many more what they call traditional practitioners today along the shoreline. They had traditional knowledge and ways of fishing. And the reason I know that was because while I wasn't necessarily allowed to speak, I was allowed to listen. And so what was common then is very uncommon today. And in fact, as a result of that, the public has now feels a need to call them traditional practitioners. But back then, they just called themselves fishermen. I was taught to fish by my uncles, who were very, very knowledgeable about moon phases, how it affects the tides, how it affects certain fisheries. They were very knowledgeable about what the fish ate, when they spawn, where to go at the right time, place, and location. And so I was very fortunate to be a part of that transmission of knowledge. And then my father's role was more about why the laws were important. And he was able to connect for me that while acquiring certain fishing skills were important, conducting yourself in accordance with the laws were equally important, if not more important, because the laws of the land, as he would call them, were established to ensure that you would have these resources available to you well into the future. And so this was the way information was given to me. And I was, again, very fortunate to have people around me that connected everything in such a way that it became really embedded in my value system and the way I began to see the world as I got older. And so by the time I had an opportunity to actually choose this as my profession, it's those values that I brought into this profession. And it's what guided me then, and it's what continues to guide me today.
In the spring of 2013, the first Community Fisheries Enforcement Unit, CFEU, was launched on Maui. 3 DoCare officers, a Makai Watch coordinator, a program coordinator, and a data manager comprise this first of its kind specialized unit. The outstanding performance of this unit in the past year has shown this concept to be viable and that additional units should be created statewide.
The community that we reach out to, they think it's great. I mean, they like seeing us out there all the time, that they can come up to us at any time and talk to us. And it's been really good now because a lot of the people in the community, they know who we are, so they come up to us and they tell us what's going on, because we're not out there 24/7. So when we do get the intel on what they're seeing, we change our schedules, to adapt, and we get out there and we do what we got to do to make sure that the resources are being protected. And it's been very good, especially with that communication that we have now. It's something that we didn't have before, especially out here on the North Shore.
The success of CFEU Host Promise, I really feel strongly that I want our mo'opuna, the children in our future, to be able to see and feel and hear and enjoy at least all of the things that we have today. And I think there's a great promise for things to become healthier because more people will see themselves on a personal level invested in protecting Hawaii. And I think there's a lot of interest I see in young people having an interest in biology, marine biology, working at Haleakala National Park, being archaeologists, and having an interest in staying here and being involved in the protection and the longevity of Hawaii, a healthy Hawaii for all of us.
When you go up to people and you end up finding a violation and issuing them a citation, and you tell them, hey, you know what, I'm a fisherman just like you. And they're like, huh, what, who? It's like, yeah, some of the people that we come across, they just think we get into the job because it's a job. I mean, they don't realize that this is our livelihood too, yeah, on our off time, or what they do as a recreational kind of activity.
Where we're almost at that point where there's no turning back and all of our precious resources is going to be gone. So that's my biggest fear, is that when we finally realize it, it'll probably be too late. And I hope that the CFE unit, it can be an eye-opener for people to see that three officers in one area focused on one particular part, we can do it. That there still is hope for us to, protect and preserve our resources.
My uncles, my father were already warning us that it was going to change, that if we did not conduct ourselves a certain way, our fisheries would look very different by the time we grew up. And they were correct.
Like early 70s, I can remember from back then. Anywhere on the island you go, a lot of fish, yeah? Plenty of fish all over. Right now it's 2014, and difference, less fish on the shoreline. Things keep going the way they are. You're just gonna be looking at little fishes, maybe only in aquariums there, I don't know. I hope not.
I think if I go back to my grandfather, I think he would be, I don't know if he would necessarily be surprised, but I think he would see this as a very frightening condition. I think he might say this is worse than I predicted. I think he might say that. And I think it might even be accurate to say the emotion might go well beyond disappointment and would be more fearful. That's what I think it might be for him.
When I first started diving, I remember we used to go to places where it's like, oh, it's not a secret spot, everyone goes there, it's a common place, people go to the surf, go to the beach, it's just a regular spot. And there'd be fish there, it would look nice. But nowadays, you can't go to spots like that because, for lack of better words, it's dead.
That experience and encounter it made me realize what we do is very dangerous.
Because usually what we get is we get a lot of the illegal fishermen come over here, and the instant that they see that the bait fish is here, they'll be back later in the afternoon or early in the morning, they'll be throwing on the bait fish, taking them. To do it, Pono will actually end up suffering.
Well, what we do for work, as a doe care officer, we protect the resources. Hurricane winds and storms and tropical depressions and stuff, we all work. Doesn't matter, rain or shine.
This vessel that we have now, it enables us to get in closer. We can take that vessel within 3 feet of water and not worry. It's a lot safer when we approach the public or divers. When we do inspections on them, it's a jet drive, there's no prop, there's no way of them getting hurt. To see that we're actually making a difference in this short amount of time.
Just the thought of the creation of a CFEU was part of many years of working for doe care and recognizing that while we believe that the Department of Land and Natural Resources has gotten it right, that all resources from Mauka to Makai are interconnected and therefore must be brought under one umbrella for protection. The problem we began to discover and accept was that we were not being funded to meet the mandate. And so many years ago, we began to talk about what is the solution. And the solution for us was to create specialized units that would provide our staff opportunities to focus rather than to run from Mauka to Makai and become very reactionary and as a result very ineffective. And that's how that idea was born.
A former department head of the old Fish and Game Division from nearly 50 years ago said that funding for resource management and enforcement always came from the back burner and constantly had a low priority. Arguably, you could say it's the same today. He also said that in order for us to take care of our natural resources, it takes adequate funding to do what really needs to be done.
Being the Makai Watch coordinator and being a part of the CFEU means to me is that, we really are starting to think differently in conservation, and we're learning to think more creatively, out of the box. We're learning to partner more because not everybody has all the resources and knowledge and expertise that's needed to do every job. So by partnering together, we really are pooling together the best of all of our resources and knowledge and really making a difference. And it's a trend that started with this CFEU and as far as fisheries management, and I really hope that it's going to continue into the future, that we're going to continue to work together and see this happening and across not just Maui, but across the state.
I'll start with why I think it was important for Maui. I think it was important because the idea to establish a CFEU came out of Maui. So I really felt that because it was envisioned, promoted, and talked about for so many years, Maui should be the site for this CFEU. But beyond that, I really felt Maui deserved this opportunity because our communities have been so active on so many levels for so many years. And so I felt very strongly that Maui was the site to pilot this program. And because our communities were so active throughout the years on so many fronts, I felt very strongly that it would succeed because our communities would embrace it quickly and they would understand and appreciate the value of what this was going to become one day. And so we recognized that, look, in order for us to succeed at anything we do, you need the support of your communities. And I was confident that we would get that support.
In the officers' roles, they really have to engage the public, and one of the ways that they're going to do that is with the Makai Watch. That's going to be a big part of this project, where the community can actually get involved in trying to help be the eyes and ears for officers in the field.
Because we have such a large mandate, basically we enforce for all the divisions within DLNR. It takes our officers from Mauka to Makai and 3 miles out to sea. We've become too reactive and not as proactive as we should be. And that's why this fisheries enforcement unit is such an important step in us fulfilling our mission.
It's looking very much the way we had envisioned it would become very, very early. So what we're seeing is a reduction in violations. What we're seeing is communities now recognizing that our officers are not only visible but accessible. What we're seeing is our officers becoming akamai about the nuances of a community and the fishery that they're responsible for managing, as opposed to officers through no fault of their own who never get to really specialize in a specific area. It's the jack of all trades syndrome, master of none. We're trying to create masters of specific areas of responsibility. And we cannot do that unless we do it this way. And in some ways, it's actually exceeding my expectations. It's the benchmarks that we're hitting are occurring much faster than I thought we would. And so yeah, it's a good thing.
Well, prior to visiting the Division of Conservation and Resource Enforcement, I didn't really know anything about them. I just seen them around. I knew about them from all the older guys talking about, oh, look at the warden. And I guess I got a negative opinion of them because everybody was like, oh, look at the warden, we gotta stay away from him, oh, he's watching us. And it rubbed off on me, and that's where the negative opinion came from.
By being more present, being more available, and becoming more effective, we can complete cases in such a way that it serves as a deterrent to others. And part of what we're trying to do is, in making these cases and doing it in a fashion that's consistent, we really believe that the deterrent factor will eventually kick in, and it will lessen the need to just go out there and bang out citations. And by lessening that side of the enforcement equation, we now become more available to participate in the educational piece. So that's how I think it will become. The need to raise the hammer will diminish. The opportunities to increase collaboration, education, and inspiring people to want to do the right thing will increase. That's where this will all go one day.
Yeah, after I learned about them, I guess I gained some more respect for what they did, and it got rid of that negative opinion. And I guess they're the only ones that's really trying to help the marine resources, but no one really knows it. They just think, oh, that's a bad guy, stay away from him, he's just trying to bust you. But really, they're trying to help you. This is something I'd never seen before, and I thought it was just great.
My greatest hope, it rests with our young adults, our children, those coming up behind us. I think there is a whole different level of awareness and appreciation with our young adults and children that didn't necessarily exist when we were growing up. And I think many people from our generation, while we did not experience that, they have become the messengers, the educators, planting seed with our adults and young children. And I see already, I believe that the tree has begun to bear fruit. And I believe very strongly that those individuals coming up behind us will take Hawaii in the right direction, and they will help Hawaii to survive the onslaught of population growth, the onslaught of behaviors and practices that have not served us well. I think they're going to help us get to a better place.
A community-based enforcement model that protects ocean resources is not a new concept. The first people of Hawaii used similar methods successfully for centuries. However, in order for the CFEU concept to work in today's world, it's important to have adequate funding to support long-term public outreach and education.
I'm very proud to be a part of this first of its kind Community Fisheries Enforcement Unit funded by Conservation International and Castle Foundation in partnership with the DLNR. It's a real honor to be working with these dole care officers on Maui who have such a fine reputation within our county already as doing such good work to protect our natural resources for today and for the future. My role as the Makai Watch coordinator is to recruit or to work with nonprofit organizations to recruit volunteers who would like to be part of the pilot project in terms of standing up Makai Watch units. And that would mean that they serve as the eyes and ears for the CFEU. So we train them to know how to observe potential violations and how to report them properly, which will hopefully result in a citation, or to be able to differentiate that from an incident that is not in violation. So not only do they serve as the eyes and ears for the CFEU, but they also are out there to provide education to the public, to the resource users who may go beyond fishermen and divers, but also swimmers, snorkelers, kite surfers, you name it. They'll be out there to provide information about our fishing regulations and be a part of the whole process. Community is a very important part of the name in CFEU because this project involves the community. It's for the community and for future generations. And so the end goals of the CFEU is that we're going to see the resources come back in abundance, in health and abundance. And so it really is not just about today. Everything that we do in conservation is also very much about the future and making sure that future generations will have the kind of resources that we have and our ancestors have had, so that they can enjoy and sustain themselves as well.
In some ways, our fisheries are doomed to possibly a place where we will no longer be able to teach our children how to fish. We will no longer have opportunities to gather. We may be reduced to buying our fish from a supermarket. That's the place that we're at today, and it must change, and we must change the way we look at solutions to this growing problem.
In the future, I'm pretty much hoping that it will go back to how it looked in the past. Because I thought that when I first started diving, everything looked so great to me. But now that I knew what it looked like, and now I see what it is now, it's heartbreaking, I guess you can say.
I think for those people, if you have children or if you have grandchildren, I think the big message for those people is that it's really about the legacy you leave behind for your children and or your grandchildren. I really think that those people need to be very thoughtful about self-indulgence and remind themselves that they're part of a larger ohana and that your actions do not just affect you, the individual. It affects everybody around you. It affects entire generations. It's much bigger than who we are as individuals. And so you must always think about how your actions affect your children, their children, and others who are part of a larger family and community. And I think if they can get to that place, that taking lobsters with eggs, for example, really prevents your children from possibly being part of a healthy, sustainable fishery. If you can connect at that level, I would say that's the first step. Start there and try to grow from there. That would be my message. What do we need to keep the CFEU going between when it comes to government and community support? I think the first cut is to truly understand the value of this program, for communities and government leaders to really truly understand that this is how we're going to become better at what we do. And the time to become better at what we do is actually long overdue. We could have done it sooner, but look, we're doing it now. This is a monumental shift in the way we are moving forward. The CFEU is the first of its kind in Hawaii ever. This is a historical moment for Hawaii, and we want it to become a reality where it's being stood up across the entire state of Hawaii. And we hope to look back one day and say to ourselves, it began here on Maui, and now it's everywhere. And begin to understand that that's what's necessary to basically save Hawaii. I really feel this is a journey to save Hawaii.
I'm not too sure what I want to be when I grow up right now, but I've looked at being a marine biologist or something like that, or going into the DLNR enforcement. I just want to do something that helps the environment.
Thank you for watching this video. We appreciate your kokua and attention. Mahalo to Director William Ayla, Chief Randy Awo, Kuhea Asiu of CFEU, Dan Takamura, and the women and men of DoCare. Ahui ho, Malama Hawaii.